Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Sports Talk on the Success Table. I greatly appreciate you tuning in today. We have another special guest. It's four-time Super Bowl champion, Jesse Sapolu. He's tuning in right now, folks. Let's get him tuned in. Mr. Sapolu, how are you doing, sir? Wait 1 second, everyone. Mr. Sapolu, how are you doing, sir? Your volume, man, your volume. Mr. Sapolu, how are you doing, sir?
Good, good. How you doing?
Blessings, my friend. Blessings to have you on with us.
Sorry,
And
it's taking a while, but we got
hey,
on.
hey, persistence pays off, man. I hear you, man. So, life after football, how's it been for you?
It's been pretty good. We lost a tough one on Sunday night, but the team played well. They fought back, but it's a long season, man. It's a 17-round fight.
Hey, you know how it is, the Muhammad Ali, man. with
Yeah,
him, with
you
him dancing.
you win 11 to 12 of those rounds, you're in the tournament, and that's the goal.
Yeah. Who do you think's gonna win the starting job overall? Garoppolo or Lance?
Uh, you know, to be honest with you, I think that everybody's excited about getting young quarterbacks into the game that are picked high. But history tells us that it usually doesn't work out. I think, and I'm the one that played when Steve Young sat on the bench for over 3 years. You look at the guy that beat us Sunday night, Aaron Rodgers, he sat for over 2 years because he had Brett Favre in the front of him. So I think Jimmy is a good enough quarterback to carry us right now. And I think the smart investment is to let Lance come in and help us with a change of pace with his skill set, but at the same time learn the game, because you don't want to throw him into the fire. You see what happened to the young man that was a quarterback for the Jets. Now he went over to Carolina and
Sam Darnold.
And he's taken his lumps. But the fact that he's experienced it for 3 years now, he's finally the quarterback that everybody expected him to be. So
definitely,
I think we got two good quarterbacks. There's no reason to rush our guy in. We're 2-1, and when Jimmy's healthy, he's been good enough to take us to the Super Bowl. We just got to close the deal.
For sure.
But everybody's excited about Trey, but let's not destroy him by throwing him in too fast.
Hey, it's Fields all with the Bears getting sacked 9 times. That's takes a toll on your confidence.
Yeah, it does. It does. And the difference between the NFL and college football is the mental aspect of the game. These kids are great athletes, but they're going to find out that they have defensive tackles that can catch them. In the NFL, so you don't want to throw them in too fast.
Oh, those DNs, when they do that swim move, it's over.
yeah. Well, those DNs can really catch them, but they can. They understand now that in the NFL is just a little bit of a different animal, and we got to trust that Coach Shanahan knows what he's doing, and we can't let. The problem right now compared to when I played is everybody's opinion's been heard, right? Back then it was radio shows, like 3 or 4 radio shows in your city, 2 major newspapers, and that's what you saw. But now, man, it's it's a good thing and it's a bad thing sometimes because you're trying to build a team.
Definitely. So, Jesse, let's get it started with your journey, man. How did you get involved with football as a kid?
So I came from Independent Samoa, which we play rugby over there, and didn't know a thing about football. Didn't know how to speak English, but I was a athletic kid, so sports was a way of me, trying to make friends, not knowing how to speak English. So I started off with flag football. We moved here, and I was a running back. I was a running back when I first started off. And then, of course, as I got older, I became a defensive lineman, sacked the quarterback. And then, then I started going both ways. And then colleges started recruiting me as an offensive lineman. So that's how I ended up playing on the good side of the ball.
I hear you, man. So who were some of your role models growing up?
Honestly, I was a Ram fan growing up, right? And, I saw Jack Youngblood, guys like Merlin Olsen.
That's old school, man.
That's old school. So I watched them as a young kid. I watched Hacksaw Reynolds, and I ended up being teammates with him. Vince Ferragamo. And then I saw Joe Montana for the first time when I was a sophomore in college, and I'm like, man, I hate that dude, man, because he's beating up on my Rams. Because usually the Rams would beat up on the 49ers, And then Joe Montana came in. Then they drafted Ronnie Lott, and they had a low round draft choice named Dwight Clark.
Beast at tight end.
Yeah. So, those were the guys that started changing it, having no idea that I was going to end up playing with those guys. And then, but now, that's the only uniform I wore for 15 years. So me, my family, a lot of people in my country are all 49er fans because of those days, and
I hear you, man.
it was a good time.
Definitely. So being from Hawaii in general, did that college, was that the reason why you went, or did you have other scholarship offers?
I had other scholarship offers, but back then, if a Polynesian kid came to California, it was like going to a foreign country. That's how far we viewed California back then. Now we got Polynesian kids, Tua Tagovailoa played at Alabama. We got DJ Uiagalelei at Clemson. So times have changed, which is a great thing. But at the same time, they can see their families on social media, on FaceTime. Back then, we didn't have cell phones, and we didn't have the money to call back home. So, being homesick was a big concern. And, I was choosing between Michigan State, Arizona State, and then Hawaii, obviously, because that's home. But my mom won out and wanted me to stay home. So I played at the University of Hawaii.
I hear you, man. So if you had to narrow it down to one moment at Hawaii, what moment stands out to you?
Interesting, because I was the only sophomore to make first team All Western Athletic Conference as a sophomore. But then they switched me to center my junior year. And it's amazing because that's kind of how my career went with the 49ers. Somebody leaves and Randy Cross left after Super Bowl 23. And Bill Walsh brought me into the office and said, we need you to move to center for us to win the Super Bowl again. And I moved to center, and we went on to win the Super Bowl, the most lopsided Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos. And then later in my career, Guy McIntyre left. And George Seifert brought me in and said, the last time you played guard, Bob McKittrick, the line coach, said you were one of the best guards in the league, so we're going to move you back out. And we brought in a player from the Giants named Bart Oates to play center. So, but that started from Hawaii, the fact that I was able to play different positions.
That versatility is key in the NFL. Versatility.
Yeah, we need versatility right now in the secondary for the 49ers because
why did they let Sherman go? He signed with Tampa today.
Well, it's not that we didn't want to sign Richard. How you build in the NFL right now is when you draft right, the first 4 years of those kids' contract, you got to try to win it.
For sure.
Well, they're at a cheaper price, We have a kid from Hawaii that grew up and I'm very familiar with as a youngster and was a great player for us. And we offered him $19 million a year, but the Indianapolis Colts, DeForest Buckner, offered him $21 million a year. So I think with Richard, it was just a matter of what kind of money we have available in the cap to fit him in. And I just think John Lynch tried his best, but we just couldn't do it. Probably Tampa had more room to offer that.
I don't know about all that. They were maneuvering that salary cap just to get all 22 players back. They signed everybody.
Well, yeah, but they're going to pay for it down the road.
Yeah, that's how.
At some point.
Yeah.
At some point, they're gonna pay for it down the road. It was a little different because, and I think Richard Sherman. The other thing, I think he's at this point of his career, he's out there to try to win another championship, and I think he thinks that with Tom Brady, that will be the way to go. Because if you remember, we signed Deion Sanders for $1 million. I mean, think about that. And the reason why is because he wanted to become a champion. So you got to take that into account also.
Definitely, man. So let's scroll a little bit forward in your football journey. Draft night. How did you spend that night? And what level of motivation did that night give you going late in the 1983 draft?
Draft night. You mean draft all day?
11th round.
There was the draft back then was only was 1 day and all 12 rounds in 1 day. So the draft started in New York. I think it was at 9 o'clock in the morning, and that was like 4 o'clock in Hawaii, 4 a.m. So, and I was expected, you listen to what people are saying, agents are saying it, and they said I should go in the 5th or 6th. And that means I would probably go at 12 noon, 11 a.m. to 12 noon Hawaii time. I didn't get drafted till 7 at night Hawaii time, which, I heard from Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Eagles, saying that they were going to draft me. But then the 49ers snagged me, I think 2 picks before the Eagles got to draft. And I never heard from the 49ers. They just called me the next day that they congratulate me, they drafted me.
I hear you, man. So what level of motivation did that give you to prove yourself that first year?
That's the biggest reason why I played 15 years. I had that chip on my shoulder. I came in feeling disrespected, and I wanted to prove myself. And the thing is, it never left. That chip never left my shoulder all 15 years. And it helped me, honestly, because I knew where I started from. The chances of me making the team was very slim. because you think about it now, they don't have it. They don't have 12 rounds now. So I would have been a free agent now. So, but I made an impression the very first week I was there, and I remember an article that first week when they were going through, how they ranked the draft choices and some of the free agent rookies. And the article mentioned the offensive line coach saying I was a steal right off the bat. So, but I never rested on that because I heard stories about the NFL, you're good today, they cut you tomorrow. So
I think that stuff that you learned at Hawaii with the versatility really provided you that value for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially when you come in as a young player. Yeah,
definitely. So that moment the league welcomed you, what was that moment?
Well, it's funny because in San Francisco, right after the final cut, they have a big luncheon in the city of San Francisco with the Chamber of Commerce where they introduce the team, right? And we all had to wear suits. We were required to wear suits. Well, I never owned a suit in my life. I have Aloha shirts, So, Bill Walsh said, "Okay, that's fine. Just don't worry about it. You can go without a suit." And so when they introduced us one by one, they all knew who I was when I walked up to the door because I was the only guy in the Aloha shirt, which is a great thing for me because it's a way of me representing my state, my people, and my culture. And that's so. Even though I bought a suit once I made the team and made some money, it's those humble beginnings that I think about. People ask me all the time, what do you think about before you go out for the Super Bowl? I think about my humble beginnings. Never forget where you come from, so you don't lose that edge.
Definitely. So you mentioned the Super Bowl runs. How rewarding was it to win 4 Super Bowls with the 49ers and go on to probably go to the Hall of Fame eventually?
Well, it's not easy. It's not easy. I won 4 Super Bowls. I'm the only guy that won the second 4. We have about 5 guys that won the first 4. I was in college in Super Bowl 16, but I'm the only one that won 4 that played with Steve Young during his Super Bowl 29. But it's very difficult. For me to win those 4 Super Bowls, I lost 4 NFC championship games. Remember the 90s?
Yes,
with the battle with the Dallas Cowboys. I lost 2 there. I lost one in my rookie year to the Washington Redskins, and I lost another one. I think it was the Chicago Bears. So, I've had my heart broken to get those 4 rings, and so when people ask me, man, you must be excited. Not many people have 4 Super Bowl rings. I said, I really don't look at it that way because I remember the ones that got away. Because and especially when Charles Haley and I were the two to fight to become the first to win 5 as an individual, and I lost a couple of those battles to Dallas in the 90s. So Charles Haley became the only player and the first one to win 5. And I think about that, it could have been me, but now Tom Brady passed him up. So
hey, you
so
could have won like
to go from
more.
11th round draft choice to be mentioned in that battle to become the winningest player, it's something that I'm proud of,
sure.
because I didn't play the game. Number one goal is to go to the Hall of Fame. That never entered my mind. The reason I played was to make sure we have a parade in downtown San Francisco at the end of the season. And that was the mentality, not only for me, but I think a lot of my teammates had that mentality.
For sure. So scrolling in a little bit forward, life after football, once you hung your pads up for the last times and you hung your cleats up, how did you apply those trials and tribulations to your personal life?
Well, it's it was an opportunity for me to give back. I was a mischievous kid that was big for his age, you know, that needed some growing, and there were men out there that sat me down and says, look, you have a talent for this sport. If you can just straighten your act and do the right things and go to class. And so those are the men that I owe it to now that I'm older. I do a lot of camps in Samoa. I do camps in Australia, do camps in New Zealand. And I do a lot of camps here. I have an academy here for linemen only that goes on for about 10 to 12 weeks in the off season, just concentrating on lineman technique, nothing else. And I've had over 100 kids that came from my camp that have gone on to scholarships in college, and you're looking at $150,000 worth of education for one individual. And a lot of these kids are similar to me. Their parents couldn't even afford a fraction of those tuition. And that's what I'm most proud of. And sometimes I'm watching TV and I'm watching a lot of those kids play ball, and so that's something that I do now. And then of course I work part-time with the 49ers. Keeps me involved in the game. I think that helps a lot because the first 2 years after I retired, it's kind of depressing, because you wake up in a cold sweat. For 26 years of my life, I played the game of football, 15 in the NFL, and the coaches keep telling you to push past what you're capable of. You got to show heart. And then all of a sudden they tell you to turn the engine off. That's not humanly possible to just turn it off after having your mindset a certain way. And I think that's why a lot of my colleagues, sometimes have problems adjusting to life after football. And part of my job with the Niners is to help our alumni guys, stay involved so that they don't go through what we go through, or the dark side of things. And I enjoy doing that.
Yes, sir. So my next two questions for you, they're 21 NFL questions. Which offensive linemen use the best technique as an offensive lineman, in your opinion?
Shoot, there's a lot of guys. When I switched to center from guard, I watched different guys, but I went and watched a guy named Dwight Stevenson, who's a Hall of Famer right now from Miami. And I had to pick up some of the things that he does and use it. I can't use everything he does because we have probably different body types. But he was a stud back in the day. And then at guard, a lot of different players. I admire some of the guys that that were there when I came into the 49ers, guys like Randy Cross. Watch some of the stuff that he does and fit it into my game. But the biggest thing, Zach, is I was a very athletic lineman. So when you try to copy some of the things that those guys do, I was able to do it, because sometimes you watch film and if you don't have athletic ability, you can't do what you're looking at, and that's what helped me a lot. But there's a lot of great linemen in the National Football League.
What about in today's game? Who would you say has the best technique?
In today's game, I think one of the best guys out there right now is our left tackle, Trey Williams. Very physical, very athletic. Shoots.
They stole him from the football team.
Yeah,
They stole
one of the best
him.
draft day deals that we made. I've spoken with him, and I told him that to fit in as one of the great 49ers of all time, he's got to bring us a title. I think he's good enough to lead our line that way. We like the centers right now. I like that left guard from Indianapolis, the kid from Notre Dame, that they drafted really high.
Isn't his name McClinchy?
No. Wow, no. I'm talking about the guard that they Indianapolis Colts drafted before McClinchy, Nelson.
Yeah, Quentin.
Nelson.
Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, I like his game. Martin from the Dallas Cowboys is a pretty good player. McClinchy's got athleticism. You just got to know how to set certain players so that he doesn't expose whatever weaknesses he has. There's there's different ways of skinning a cat, so to speak, in the game. And I think he's gonna learn that experience as he moves on. But he's getting better every year.
Yes, sir. So this is about your 49ers. How do you believe the 49ers can make changes to protect Lance and Garoppolo? I think they've been sacked 6 times already in the short season that we've had.
Well, the reality of life is there's just no way those guys would never give up a sack, and but they have to come together as a 5, as a group of 5. If you look at Super Bowl 24, and you watch it on YouTube, John Madden said about our line, these guys has never allowed a sack in the playoffs on that run. And then he went on to say, not only do they don't let anybody touch Joe Montana, they don't let anybody come close to Joe Montana. And I appreciate that, because we were on our game for that stretch of 3 to 4 years that we won back-to-back Super Bowls and played in NFC Championship games. We had a chemistry as a line to play together, because it's not all one-on-ones. The defensive linemen just don't line up and come straight one-on-one, unless you're Aaron Donald or somebody. But they run stunts, they run games, they try to mistime things to throw you off. It's your ability as a 5 to handle all those wrinkles that makes you a great line. That's what makes you a line that, like John Madden said, these guys, not only do they not let anybody touch Joe Montana, they don't let anybody come close to Joe. And when you start having that chemistry, your mindset becomes that, no, we ain't going to let nobody come close to our quarterback. We played a Minnesota team in the playoffs, I think 2 years in a row, and we shut them down. But they came in one year, they came in with 71 sacks during the regular season. Think about that, Zach, 71 sacks. So that means every single one of those 4 guys have 15 sacks, right? But that's not how it was distributed, because they were deep. They had a rotation of 7, but they came after the quarterback. They had
one
2
was Randall, right?
That was Randall. Millard. Yeah. Millard might go in the Hall of Fame too. Chris Doman is in the Hall of Fame. John Randall's in the Hall of Fame. So that's possible 3 guys in the Hall of Fame from that line.
Definitely.
And we 2 years in a row in the playoffs, we sent them home. So those are the great memories. And you can, all I can hope for is the lines that we have now is to gain some kind of chemistry, so they can protect Jimmy and Trey, and because if they can protect, we're going to go places. And of course, our running game is key to what we do.
I really like Kittle too for you guys. He's
Well,
a man
he's a
amongst boys.
he's a he's a different animal from the standpoint of I don't think he's the best catching tight end. I think he's one of the best catching tight ends. But there's other guys that can catch the ball and run. But when it comes to being a complete tight end with blocking, there's no one close to the guy that we have.
For sure.
George is a special animal from people was saying, "Oh yeah, this tight end enjoys blocking just as much as catching." And you say, "Yeah. George Kittle enjoys destroying people in the run game, and we all know what he can do in the pass game." That catch he made in the middle last week gave us a chance to win the game.
Yes,
in the fourth quarter. So we're very, very lucky to have him.
Definitely. Him and Gronkowski's the same way. He boy's a monster.
I think Gronk is bigger, but I think Kittle is a little bit better athlete.
Yeah, you got me on that one. You got me. Hey, George Kittle, you guys stole him. He was a late rounder. Another one.
It is a steal now, but I don't think I mean, you look at if you look at the 49er dynasty years, that was the round we point at in one of our drafts. We drafted Michael Carter, who's all pro, Steve Wallace, who was a Pro Bowler, Charles Haley, who's now Hall of Famer, all in the fifth round, right? So that's a special round for the Niners when it comes to the draft. And now it's George Kittle, So hopefully we can continue to succeed in the fifth round. But yeah, everybody look at it as a steal. But we didn't steal him. He was there for everybody else to pick in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Nobody grabbed him.
And it's the same way with Tom Brady too.
Yes.
All 31 other teams could have had him.
Yep. For how long? For a day and a half, nobody grabbed him. So
well, Jesse, it was a blessing to have you on Sports Talk 1996. And we'd welcome you back for another one, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on, Zach.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad that we finally got to do it. But,
Definitely.
you know how to communicate with me, and we can do it again.
Let's do it. Hey, aloha, my brother.
Aloha.